Well, I don't know. Still figuring it out. Huh. Well, we'll stink. All right, anybody there? I got one person. Still trying to figure out all this technical stuff. The problem is they don't allow you to check it before you get started. So that's the thing I was noticing is it was not very conducive for checking ahead of time. So sorry guys. Hopefully we can not lose 100 people here while I'm trying to figure all this out. Mm-mm-mm. For some reason the camera wasn't working, but I don't know. Just kind of annoying. Kind of annoying. Mm-mm-mm. All right. So, anyways, there who doesn't see, then hey Tommy. Hey, thanks for finding me. All right. Well, I don't know how many people I lost on the technical glitching, but all right. Well, it is what it is. Technical difficulties are never fun, but hey, that's the name of my game. I'm 55 years old and I'm still trying to figure out life. So pardon me for the problems here. Let me see if I can get this thing in a better spot. All righty. I had to go back to my phone because the stupid computer was not letting me get on. I don't know what was up. So it's one of those things. It just happens. You go with the flow. Okay. All right. All right. So welcome, guys. I didn't want to go live, but I had thought I've been getting a lot of questions in the comments that they seem to be repeating themselves, which is okay. And I get it. That happens. Yeah, that's a good idea for a community message. Let me see if I can do that. Let me see. Now you're asking me to do something else. This is fun. I mean, it's just I enjoy mucking with this stuff, but it definitely challenges my brain because especially doing things on the fly, it's it is definitely something challenging. So let's just put this in. Sorry for my face being right in the front of everything, but all right. I put something out, but I don't know how many people will find it because I didn't put a link in it. I'm trying to think how I can get that link. But hey, people will sort through the garbage and find me, I'm sure. All right, well, welcome whoever's here. Let me know your questions, post them in the comments there, and I will answer them. But what I was saying earlier was I don't normally go live. You got a beard, look at that. It's funny how you can make yourself look kind of old and scruffy when you get on TV. I'm famous. Not really. But anyways, what I was saying is sometimes the going live can answer a lot of questions for a lot of people because they have the same questions. So everybody's asking the same things, and I thought, well, instead of constantly answering the same questions on a comment for a video, then maybe I could just answer it in a live. So if you guys got any questions, I can help you out. So maybe I should post something in here. I don't know if I can post something on there. So I sent out a community message, so we'll see who follows, and we'll go from there. Can you guys hear me okay? I got this microphone, but it's not hooked up to this thing now. So I can turn that off. That was on the laptop that I was using that, and now I'm not using that anymore. I'll try and figure it out next time so it can work better, and then I won't have any issues. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how to be an adjuster. So if you wanted to ask me a specific question, I can get to those. But typically when I became an adjuster, I didn't want to be an adjuster. I was actually just looking for new work. I didn't have any work. And so I was, we'd just gone through the recession, 2008, big economy bust. Hey, you know what? We're actually getting ready to go through another recession. So it's very similar to 2008. So someone with zero experience be able to find work? Absolutely. So let me go back to the first question. I got recommendations where I can revamp or rebuild my resume. What I did when I was building my resume is I went online. I just went on Google and I typed in resume, and I actually went on LinkedIn also. And I started looking at people's profiles in my industry. So back when I was a builder, I actually went in and searched in LinkedIn under builders, and those guys post their resumes. So it's kind of funny because they're trying to find work. But what was really cool about it is the resume is right there for you to look at. So you could read down, you could say, oh, that applies to me, or no, it doesn't apply to me. And then I can use that example and I could build my resume that way. So I did the same thing when I was doing the insurance adjuster thing. The interesting part about when I was building my resume is I took every course that I did, including your even your continuing education. You have a course that you're taking there. Well, list it, put it in there as your experience. I got a course, a 3-hour course in claims adjusting, whatever. Or, as far as fraud, I got a 3 hours in fraud, or whatever it happens to be. I just started listing all of those types of experience on my resume when I was brand new, because I had to do my continuing education to keep my license. And any course that I took. So when I did a State Farm certification, put that in there. State Farm auto certification, put that in there. So every single line item, put that in your resume. But pretty much what you're doing is, my resume is now 3 pages long. So, everybody's talking about how a resume gets boring after a while. Hey, it may be boring, but I got a lot of experience, so I just kept putting it down. So every course I did, I just kept listing it. So it's a great way to start. You can really build a great resume. So when people saw my resume after only just a couple years of claim adjusting experience, it looked phenomenal because I was putting every single experience that when I sat through a training meeting, then I put that experience down on my resume. Or if I sat through an OSHA or safety meeting, put that down. If I did ladder training, to put that down. So it starts to build your resume into a really I would say, appealing look when somebody just glanced down and go, wow, he's got a lot of diversified training, so it's really good stuff. So someone with no experience to find work. I had zero experience, absolutely zero experience when I started. And what I did is I made sure that I got all the training, and Tommy, this is really important. I think a lot of guys are waiting for the phone to ring, but they just haven't done the experience or the setup in order for someone to say, yes, I want to hire you, because you haven't done all the work ahead of time. And I don't know what your experience is and what you have as far as zero experience, or even what your background is, but my background was in construction. So when I put it on my resume, I was like, I know how to build a house, I know how to frame walls, I know how to trim houses, I know how to do plumbing, electrical. I just started putting down all my experiences, even though they weren't really related to insurance. I mean, they were semi-related, but every little bit of experience that I had in my prior life, even if it was proficient in Word, proficient in Excel, great communication skills, not afraid to talk to people in public, great interaction skills. These are things you want to put on your resume because those are all relevant to this industry. So it's really cool. And so when somebody picks up your resume and says, oh, zero experience, but look at all these other things that they have listed on their resume that could really be helpful in this business. I mean, you stand there in front of people and you're talking to them. So if you are a great orator, you could say, I have plenty of experience talking in front of people, worked at a sales job, blah, blah, blah. So those are great things that people, hey, you got to be confident in front of people. You can't be afraid of strangers. So those are great experiences that you can put on your resume to grow. Now, what I did for training when I was first starting was I made sure that I got my State Farm training in both property and in auto. That was the easiest, well, not to say easiest, but the thing that everyone looked for, because, State Farm is the largest insurance company and they deploy the most people during a CAT event. So those are the two certifications that you really want to get, absolutely. Is get those, because in a catastrophic event, then they're going to send you on a CAT event with no experience. And the reason they do this is because they're going to put you in front of, put you in an office somewhere with a couple hundred other people. They're going to break you in teams or whatever, but you're going to have a trainer and you're going to have a manager. It's going to be literally hovering over your head. So you can't mess up. And that's the greatest scenario for finding work, is because they're willing to take brand new people with no experience. And so that, because the trainer and the managers are there, you can succeed there with zero experience. But you got to have your licenses. So if you don't have any licenses, you don't have any certifications, they're not going to send you on a State Farm certified or certification like a State Farm deployment if you're not State Farm certified. You can't work those claims. So that's going to be your first and foremost thing, is most firms are going to be deploying you to State Farm. So get that certification. Okay, but work on those individual experience things. Getting your Xactimate 1 and 2, level 1 and 2 certification. That's a tough one, guys. You're going to have to know this program. This is the program that everybody uses and everybody writes estimates in. So if you don't know that program and you don't have level 1 and 2 certification, then you're pretty much telling the firm that you're being hired by that you don't know the software. So when I was zero experience, was basically I wanted to get that certification because I knew everyone was looking for that. So keep that in mind when you're trying to get deployed, is if you don't have the training, they're not going to hire you because you're wasting your time. So lots of questions. Let's get to them. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, you've been a cable technician for 10 years. Oh yeah, great. Yeah, tired of climbing ladders. But hey, you're proficient at climbing ladders, so you can say that. Hey, I've been climbing ladders for 10 years, tons of experience. I'm used to talking to people. Great opportunity for you to succeed in the customer service skills. But you're just going to have to get the experience in other areas before somebody's going to hire you. So yeah, great. Customer service, man, you're awesome. You got it made there. So can desk adjusters be paid on commission? Okay, commission. No, I don't think they pay on commission. What you basically got when you're a desk adjuster is you're going to be paid an hourly sum. Now, keep an eye out for it. There's lots of different prices. Now, when I went to State Farm, they had an absolute price, and it was the same across all firms, meaning they had to pay us was like $35.75 or something like that. I think it was a standard hourly rate, and they had to pay that. So no matter what firm I went to work for, that was State Farm's price. You got to be careful now. Now things have changed, and they've got like an express team, and what basically it is glorified telephone operators, and I think they're paying them 25. So you got to remember though, 25 is not that great when you're talking about having to go to another city, pay for all your expenses. You've got your hotel bills, your gas, your food, all these different things. You're only making 25 bucks an hour, and you got to take taxes out of that. That's not really great money. So the 35.75 was a really good price point, because that way, you know, take out taxes, take out food and whatever, then you are taking home about $25 an hour. And by that time, you're working 60 hours a week. That's good money. I mean, when I was making 35.75, that's 100,000 a year, guys. This because we were working 60 hours a week. Great money, zero experience. That's how I got that job. And they trained you. They did everything for you. You just basically couldn't mess up because they knew you were new, and you were being trained. So desk adjusting is your first step. You got to be willing to travel. Those deployments might be a couple weeks during a storm. Normally they're not that short. Normally they're about a month. They can be as long as, yeah, you can't do it part-time. Desk adjusting, you can't do part-time. Has to be full-time. They're going to give you 60 hours a week, and they're going to penalize you if you skip out on those days. Those are really tough gigs to get part-time unless you're a remote scenario. Remote scenario means you stay home. They're going to pay you less, but that's an opportunity too. So, all right. So let's see. Paid per claim. Yes, there are some that are paid per claim. I have heard that. That's going to be like your citizens insurance. I wouldn't recommend. Yes, firms typically do train new adjusters. Remote is a great gig. You just make less, but you get to stay home. So that's a good opportunity. You get paid less. But I know a buddy who's doing remote work right now, working for Citizens. He's not happy because the amount of work that they expect him to do for the hourly rate that he's making, he's hating it. So, but he took the gig because it was work, and that happens. So sometimes you got to take the bad. But here, remember what I talked about. Every little bit of experience is something you can put on your resume. So use the Citizens opportunity remote scenario as a stepping stone to something else. Use them. What I mean by that is really use them in a bad sense to get, put up with it for a month or two, but you can put it on your resume and say, hey, I got experience in desk adjusting. And then you can get a State Farm gig that pays good, or a Liberty Mutual or something like that pays well. Would I allow a ride along? I think you guys are local, Pneumatic Recovery. I think I've heard of you guys. Local, aren't you? I don't do ride-alongs right now, but at this point, I've had a lot of people asking about it. So maybe in the fall, because right now summer's busy. Oh, you're in Tampa? Okay. Well, hey, thanks for joining me. Man, we're in North Carolina. And it's too hot here. I can't imagine what it's like in Tampa. Mind you, you guys get the breeze. I lived in Orlando for a little bit. You'll pay me. You're funny. I don't need to be paid. I love just helping people. So it's, all right, so many questions here. Is adjusting is hard? Field adjusting is actually hard as people say, make it out to seem. I'm ready to work 10 hours a day. Is freight, oh yeah, if you worked in 10 hours a day, you got no problem. No breeze. Oh man, that stinks. So yeah, so oh, in Jacksonville, love Jacksonville. Miami, man, you guys are all in Florida. What are you doing? I'm in North Carolina. Come on up here. No, no. So let's see. Field adjusting. Field adjusting, I would say, just to make it simple, is the last step in your pathway. Field adjusting is kind of like your reward for doing all the grunt work that you did with desk adjusting, potentially even auto adjusting CAT. there's just a lot of um, just there's just a lot of steps before they're willing to give you an opportunity as a field adjuster. They want to see that you can operate by yourself without any problems, without anybody babysitting you. Uh, you don't need a trainer that's sitting next to you. There's just a lot of stuff that goes in. Because I remember when I was really searching for field adjusting work, everybody used to say, well, I need 2 years experience. And then, you got to remember the 2 years experience, the firms are no idiots. They're not saying, hey, I got my license in December and then I've only worked 5 claims in the last 2 years, but I had my license for 2 years. No, they're not talking about how long you had your license. They're actually talking about how many claims you've handled. Have you worked steadily for those 2 years as an adjuster? And the best gig is going to be a desk adjuster because those deployments are 3 months, 6 months, something like that. Auto adjusting, no, that's how I started. Auto adjusting pays you $35.75, just like for State Farm, just like property does. So no, auto adjusting was awesome. I did total loss, I did liability, Pilot, Alacrity, great companies. I worked for Pilot and I'm currently working for Alacrity. So great companies. I did not work for RE Renfro. What is it? EA Renfro. Didn't work for them. I worked a little bit for Crawford. They're a great company, great to get started with. Wardlaw, I worked for, great company. Well, they were going through a transition, but they paid. My goal was, hey, am I going to get paid when I get my work? Am I going to get a check every 2 weeks? And that was the key. And if they're faithful at paying and they give you work, then, you got nothing wrong with them. Yeah, see, Alacrity used to be Worley. So Worley is the mother company, and a lot of political junk went on. There were just two people heading down the wrong way. So the Worley guy was like, hey, I want to take the corporation this way. And the rest of the board was like, no, we want to go this way. And Worley's like, well, no, I'm the owner. I'm going to go this way. And so basically the board said, okay, fine, you go that way, we'll pay you off, and we're taking the company this way, we'll buy you out. And that's what happened. So they changed names. They didn't want the Worley name anymore. But yeah, you're right, new CEO. They changed it all because Worley wasn't the nicest guy in the world to work for. So, so anyways, that's how things work in the world. Hey, one thing I want you guys to remember as adjusters, and a guy taught me this, the guy that I mentored from, he was a guy in Texas, and I only went on three drive-alongs with him. And the thing that he pointed out to me the most, and it stuck with me, is he said, just remember to never burn a bridge with anyone that you work for. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much you hate the people that you're working for, and the fellow adjusters that are sitting right next to you. So I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm sitting there working with in auto. I was working in an auto adjustment scenario, and I sat next to this guy. His name's John. I won't tell you his last name. But anyway, so he was just, he had the most annoying voice. He was so loud on the phone, and he was sat next to me, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, there is no way I'm going to function as an adjuster with this guy yapping away next to me. I can't even hear myself think. So I asked the trainer, I said, I've got to have one of those two headphone things because I can't hear myself think. They were giving us the one and then the microphone, and I was like, no, I need another one so I can make this noise, go away. So anyway, so years and years and years, I felt like I worked for it. I was there like 2 years, and it seemed like every deployment he was there, and I could hear him across the room when he was sitting somewhere else, whatever. So finally, he ended up going down to Florida, and he worked in a job down there, and we stayed in contact once in a while. And I went out in the field, and lo and behold, guess who was reviewing my files, or actually working as a desk adjuster for one of my files, was John. And he goes, John goes, hey, Daniel, is that you? Is that the guy who sat next to me for several years when Worley was around? I said, sure is, John. And so he said, man, you had a great file. I like working for you as a desk adjuster, and you're doing great work in the field. And anyway, so what the whole story was is the guy said, don't burn your bridges because you never know who you're going to run into later on. And where that also came into play is one of the guys I was sitting next to ended up being one of my trainers and managers years down the road as well. So here I was, I could have been a jerk to him, but he ended up being my trainer manager down the road. So the adjusting world is small. I want you guys to understand that, is that there are tons of firms out there, tons of firms, okay? But all of us are, just like when I tell you guys, get on 40 rosters, sign up to 40 of them. Well, because we're all overlapping. We're all just trying to find work from whoever can give us work. So you have to remember, hey, so let me put a number out there. Maybe there's 2,000 adjusters in the United States. Okay, well, if you look at the rosters of most of these firms, all those adjusters are on the same roster. So they're all signed up to the same ones. And what these firms are doing is they're just fighting with the insurance companies to say, yeah, we can provide you all the best people in the world that you need. Give us the contract, and we want to sign up with you, and we can take care of you. Well, all the adjusters are on every roster, so they're all saying the same thing. But just remember, one day, one of those is going to be your manager. One of them could be a desk adjuster or somebody sitting right next to you in a chair. So just remember, it's hard though, because some of those people are jerks. And so you just got to bite your tongue. I had a lady that sat in front of me, man, she was a thorn in my side. And I was like, well, it is what it is. But I've seen her down the road, and now I don't work with her, so I don't have to worry about her. But but you do, you get some strange people. All right, what else we got? The program that auto claim adjusters use. Well, here's the thing. It just depends. If you're in the field, you're going to be using Mitchell. I think the other one is, what is it, Simsol or something like that? I can't remember. Anyway, so I didn't do the outside field work for auto. I was only a desk adjuster. And so the desk adjuster, we're using ECS, which is State Farm's software that basically does all the in-house stuff. And so they'll train you on ECS, and man, literally after about 3 months, you can do it in your sleep. I mean, it's super easy, and I mean, it's hard at the beginning because it's really complicated. It's actually quite a complicated program, but after you get doing it about 3 months, you're literally just repeating, and rinse and repeat is what I call it, and you can get really good at it. So yeah, so out in the field, that's going to be somebody who probably is a mechanic, has tons of experience in that field before they will send you, because you're writing estimates for car repairs and trying to, it says stream ended. No, stream didn't end. I'm still here. It says I'm still live. So I knew a guy who was handicapped, and he worked as a field auto adjuster, and it was perfect for him because he would get the car lots with hail damage, and he'd literally just have to go from one car to the next. They didn't ship them all over the place. They just said, hey, it's just one car after another. So he would get 50 cars on a lot or something that got hail damaged and do really well as a handicapped person. So, but he was an auto guy. He was a mechanic. So the same thing goes for me. I grew up as a carpenter and a contractor, a remodeler, and then a home builder. And so when I go to do estimates for houses, it's easy for me because I know how a house goes together. So for a guy who's coming in who doesn't know houses, and maybe a roofer would do really well as a claim adjuster, because most of your houses you're doing roof claims. But you have to remember, if you're not familiar with the products on how a house is built or how a roof goes together, then you're going to have a really hard time being a field adjuster. When somebody drops you into a house that's flooded and you've got 4 foot of drywall ripped out and everything in it totally destroyed, and you got to figure out how to go back together. So they're not going to put you out there unless you've proven yourself you can write pretty good estimates. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, don't burn your bridges, guys. It's super, super important. You cannot burn your bridges. Everyone that you come across, you may run into again. As a manager, as a friend, as a person you're sitting next to in a desk, or even if you go on a cat deployment. I've been on cat claims, and this is funny, is that many of the people have never met me because I don't do a lot of cat claims where I go to the conferences. I actually skip the conferences or the get-togethers and say, just give me the claims, I'll call them while I'm on the road. So I get to a conference one day, and the managers have never seen me. 50% of the people probably 80% of the people in the room of the 20 or 30 guys that were there have never seen me. And so we go around the room, we're introducing ourselves, and I say, yeah, I'm Daniel. And they go, Daniel Brant? And I said, yep. And everybody's like, oh, hey, man, I've never met you. And it was just so much fun because all these people knew me either from, desk adjusting, managers, other gigs we've been on, but it's only by name. They see your name as on the file, but they never met you by face. So that's really fun, is when you meet people at a conference. I've been to several of these adjuster conferences with Worley, Warlaw, whatever, and you go to these conferences and you meet all your file reviewers, and they're funny. They never look like they're like their name says. So, somebody will tell their name and go, "Oh, I can't believe that's you," and it's just funny. It's just really funny. So it is a very small circle. You're right. All right. So 45 years in and starting with no experience, construction knowledge, get Xactimate level 2, maybe HAG certified, Symbility as much as additional construction knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. So Symbility is not used very much. I don't know that I would spend the time to get to know Symbility. Yes, there is a specific carrier, and I can't remember which one it is, Erie, I think maybe, that uses Symbility. So, think about it. One carrier that's absolutely using it. And in fact, I actually was proficient in Symbility about 5 years ago. And when I was using it for Erie, they ended up stopped using it. And so it was like, here I'm going through writing these stupid estimates, and then they all of a sudden pulled the plug and say, we're going to go to Xactimate. 4 years later, now they're going back to it or whatever. So yeah, they're using it, but here you got to remember, Symbility is expensive. It's actually more expensive to use than Xactimate. So I'm going to explain that. For me, it is, okay? And the reason why is because I get a really good discount for Xactimate through Alacrity. So typical price on Xactimate is $250 a month. Okay, so that's their going price. You go to the web, you rent it for a month. It's $250. So through Alacrity, they've given it to me for $100, and I think they do it to anybody who's running a bunch of claims for them. So that's a huge discount, guys, to be able to buy it through them. It may be 110, 120, something like that. But anyway, so Symbility, they charge like $5 per claim. Okay, and then I think it's a max at like $180 a month. So I can only run like 50 claims, and I'm already maxed out. So if I run 50 claims a month, I'm already paying the $180 every stinking month to use this software. So they do it like $5 per claim because it's all on the web. So when I was running Symbility, I was like, man, this stinks. This is actually costing me a lot to write these estimates. And depending on the fee schedule from whoever's paying you, you gotta get that in there. And be able to tell them, hey, I'm charging $5 extra on my fee schedule because I got to buy this stupid program because I know that every month I'm going to be maxed out at $180. So good program. It's great to put onto your resume if you can actually get some training and know how to use it. It'll mess with your brain because it works very different than Xactimate does, and it'll mess you up. If you have to do claims in Symbility and then flip the next claim and do Xactimate, you're gonna think you're crazy because it's that difficult. So what I liked about it is I would do a catastrophe and then ship out and only do Symbility for the entire catastrophe. So that works great. Then I'm writing every claim in Symbility, and then you start getting that system, and it works really well. So you can make some good money doing that because you start to get familiar with it over and over, and you speed up and whatever. But if you have to go between, like on a daily claim scenario and you're flipping, I would never do that. It'll drive you nuts. So that's that. Okay, Symbility is probably getting bigger, possibly. It was big in the past, and it just felt like people were going further and further away from it. So, it goes in waves. People try it, and then they go back and switch, and they have adjusters complain about it, so then they go back. So, how many claims am I writing per year approximately? I've never really calculated that. It goes in waves. My work is very strange. Every year is different. I can't even keep track of there's no rhyme or reason for it because depending on if there was a storm. So a couple years back here in North Carolina, we had a really big storm, and that was in September. of 2020. And it was a huge hailstorm. And literally I was writing those claims for 2 years. 2 years. I had residual work for 2 years. So 2020 was absolutely my highest made money that I ever made. And then residually, 2021, I was still writing those claims for 2020 in 2021. And the reason why I say that is that somebody will put a date of loss, and just say, hey, the storm happened a year ago, and it was such a widespread storm that, yeah, it did hit that house. And the insurance company some of them will allow you to use a past date of loss in order to, say this is when the hail event happened. Not to mention that when you pull a hail report, and I've got to write that report and say, well, when did this hailstorm happen? I can say, well, it happened at 9/25/20. As time passes, the insurance company starts to say, that cause or that date of loss is too far away now. We're not going to honor that. And what they'll do is they'll only pay ACV, or actual cash value, of that claim. They will not give the recoverable depreciation back. What I mean by that is they depreciate the amount of damage based on how old the house is. And so they, cut out a quarter or a third of the value of whatever they're going to pay. And when the house is completed, all the repairs are done, they will give that recoverable depreciation back to the owner after they prove the work's been done. It's a good system for the insurance company to make sure that people aren't walking off with the whole check. So if they gave the whole check at the start, then everybody takes off to Hawaii and never gets the house done. So insurance company's out, the mortgage company's out, everybody's getting ripped off because the insurance, taking the money and run. So they set that, they pay you ACV first, and then when the job's done, you send in photos, a letter of completion from the contractor, and then they'll send the rest. If you are using an old storm and nothing has happened for like a couple of years, some insurance companies will not give you the recoverable depreciation back. I don't think that's fair. I think that's insurance companies trying to rip off people. But that's just, it's in their language. It's in their policy language. So some of them will say, hey, if it's an old lost date, we have the right to, to say no. And part of that is their clause about delay in reporting. They try and use that as an excuse. And, well, you're welcome. Normatic recovery. I wish people would just put their real names in, but anyways, no. So, it depends on the storm date, is really whether you can get your recoverable depreciation back. But typically, hey, Sean, there you go. I knew a Sean in Florida. Anyway, so the data. So depending on what I've had happen in storm wise, it could bring work for the following year and the following couple of years potentially of residual work. And what that does is really good. So here, for instance, 2021 was really busy because I was still working 2020. But now in 2022, we can't use that storm date. They just, a lot of companies are just saying it's too far out. And so a lot of people aren't reporting, and they're not looking for new storms. So work has really slowed down this year compared to what I was doing. So I was really, really busy in April last year, storm, but only lasted about 2 or 3 months. And then there's been some residual. So it just really depends on the level of storms that we have on a regular basis, whether it's hurricane based, whether it's hail based, whether it's wind based. Those are your bread and butter. Those storm claims are going to be what's going to take you through the winter when things are slow. The roofers know that, so they're out there working the claims, working the door knocking, whatever, doing a roof, trying to, be in the neighborhood so they can solicit to the neighbors surrounding and say, hey, you got damage. We're replacing this guy's roof. So, maybe you want to give a free look. I'll look at your house. And then that's how those guys work the residual work in the winter. And that helps us a lot to get work in the winter time when things are slow. I would say on average, during the slow months, I'm at 12 to 15 a week as far as claims. And the summer and the busy, I'm at 20 to 30 a week. So what does that work out to? I don't know, 500 or 600 a year, maybe, something like that. So I've worked about 5 or 6,000 claims since I've been an adjuster. So it's probably about 500 or 600 a year that I work on. So that's that. Sean, appreciate the compliment about my work. Here's a plug for you guys that that I want you guys to think about. I love the fact that you guys love the work, the stuff that I'm putting out there, and they have now allowed us an opportunity to put a thanks tag under the videos, like you know how you can hit a like button or follow or whatever, and they have a thanks tab. And it's brand new, but I was really kind of encouraged by that because that helps me to understand what videos you guys really like. And if it really you gathered a lot of information from that video, then I want to know. And now here's the catcher. The thanks is money that comes directly to me. Well, actually, YouTube gets some too, but it comes to me in a portion of that thanks button. You can choose what a money amount that you give, $2, $5, $10, whatever. And you can put whatever amount you want in there. But that helps me understand. I was talking to a guy who gave me some money earlier and on a video, and I asked him specifically, what did he like about, well, thanks, Sean. See how easy that is? So cool. So it lets me know the information that you guys find important to learn, because to me, I mean, I'm out here, I can't interact with you guys except for what we're doing here on texting. But if I could talk to you guys and say, hey, what would you really like to learn about? What would you like to know? Just things like that, it really helps. So when you put money out on a specific video, or even when you comment on a video and you say, thanks so much, this was really a great video, really helped me out, that helps me to learn to what to put next in the next content that I want. A video on hail claims from head to toe. Actually, I've got several videos out there, Hugo, that do show that. So check out the roof hail inspection videos. They are so cool. And the flashlight, that flashlight's totally awesome. Now, I just did a video, I put up one today on a fire. I didn't wake forest, dude. My flashlight wouldn't work in this fire because the entire third-story attic was burnt. The whole stinking, every rafter in the entire second or third floor was burnt. And so I'm shining a flashlight on black and it just didn't work. So if you're watching my video and you're going, dude, what a crummy video you did, because there's like 2 minutes in there of black. Anyways, the flashlight works normally really, really good, but in this scenario, it didn't work at all. So yeah, check out the flashlight. It's in my link. I put a link to all my equipment in there. I really think you guys need that information, because when you're brand new and you don't know what to buy or you don't know what to put on your belt, all the links there really are great, because they teach you guys what stuff to get. I literally repeat the exact same buy. Well, I save it in my Amazon, and when I'm out, I just buy it again. And I buy the chalk, I buy the moisture meter, I buy all the same things every single time. My disto laser measurer. I have tried a lot of other things, but hey, when you have a good thing, why would you change? So that's me. All right, so let's see. And thanks for the info on the flashlight. Yep, great. Scoping process, how to build claims to 15 to 20 minute dailies. That's my request. Scoping process, how to build claims. So I mentioned this in one of my other videos, and one of the things that I want you guys to understand is that think of it as a numbers game. Okay, so Mr. Firm over here, if you get from one firm and there's 2 or 3 other adjusters that are working your area, what I mean by that is, so if I'm working daily claims and I'm working, maybe my radius is an hour or an hour and a half. Well, there's another adjuster that's an hour and a half away that they're also mapping out an hour and a half for him. And then another adjuster an hour and a half. So you guys overlap a lot. So when you're in an area, a firm is going to say, when a new adjuster, say you call up the firm and say, I'm in Raleigh and I want to find some work. He's going to go to his map, and every one of these firms has got this. They got a map and they've got a pin, and they probably might even have a string showing my travel area of this is what I do. Okay, so this is my area, and this is my area, and this is my area. Well, if they've got 3 adjusters within an hour and a half of a city, depending on the size of the city, and they'll be looking at their volume to say, hey, is this guy handling everything? Are these 3 adjusters doing okay? And then they'll look at their data and they'll say, okay, this guy is, we're a week out on claims, and this adjuster's a week out on claims, and this adjuster's a week out on claims. That's actually not going to start looking really good for our firms. So our firms are going to, or not our firms, but our carriers are going to be upset that the claims are taking a little bit too long to handle. So what the firm might do is they'll say, I'm going to bring another adjuster in. They're going to look at their list of adjusters of who have said, I want to come to Raleigh or whatever, and they might bring an adjuster in. Now, here's where they may change their mind. They may say, yeah, summer's busy, we know that is, but I would really be hurting these guys in the wintertime if I brought another adjuster in, because then you got to split the claims 4 ways. So there's a lot of math involved in the decision making for those firms to decide if they're going to bring a new adjuster in. So to answer your question, the math that you got to think about is, if I'm with this firm, then I'm only putting all my eggs in one basket. My chances of getting deployed with that one firm may be limited, and they may only handle a certain amount of carriers. So if I go to another firm, they may handle totally different carriers, and they're still in the Raleigh area. And so I'm going to answer you, Sean. Here, stick around. So think about it as in this whole realm of all these firms. Some might handle 1 claim a week, some might handle 5 claims a week, some might handle 10 claims a week, and so on and so forth. So depending on the firm, they really will depend on how many claims they're actually getting in those areas, depending on the carrier. So what my recommendation is to get on about 40 rosters. If you're brand new and you're looking for work, you sign up for anyone who says that they need help in that area. You tell them where you are. I'm in Raleigh or wherever, and I want to sign up in your roster. So you get signed up. And yes, 40. That's what I did when I first got started. And I literally was getting, for dailies, absolutely. So I would get 1 claim from one firm, and I would get 1 claim from another firm. And I hated this claim or this firm because their process of handling claims is terrible, but I kept them. And then another firm gave me 1 or 2, and another one gave me 3 or 4. So literally at the beginning of my career, I was working for about 10 or 12 different firms running about 1 claim each. But think about it. That's 10 to 15 a week. Now, I'm pulling my hair out because every firm is asking for a different report, different way they handle things, different ways they repair things, how they do the drywall, blah, 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 whatever. But here's the thing. I kept a little notepad and a name on that firm. And those were the little cheat notes that I kept that said, okay, they say they only pay for the spot sealer instead of the regular sealer. So I could do PNTS, and this one does PNTS minus. So I couldn't write a claim for that carrier using the wrong way they paint things. So I kept these little cheat notes, and then also the macros. So I started naming my macros, Universal Insurance, ASI Insurance, Horace Mann Insurance, UPC, and it was all specifically for drywall repair patch, that insurance company or that firm. I would start to make these macros, and I've told you guys I sell my macros. I got about 300 or 400 macros now that are those little shortcuts that teach me how to write claims for those specific carriers. And it's always a work in process because, for instance, ASI just changed their literally just changed the way they prime their drywall. And now my macro is out of date. It's not the right macro. So basically I had to change the way I write my macro, like basically how I do a drywall repairs, because they just changed it. And it happens all the time. They go through. So what they did, here's the crazy thing. So ASI says, we're going to repair drywall. We're going to cut out 4